It's Q&A time. It's Q&A time. Q&A time. Q&A time. Sure. We'll go with it. So I finally got together enough questions to do a actual Q&A. I think the first time I asked for questions was a couple of months ago. At this point, you guys should really just be used to the fact that every time that I want to make something, there's like a 3 to 9 month waiting period before it's actually going to happen. So yeah, just get used to that. But without further ado, let's answer all of your burning questions about me, the most interesting woman in the world. Not really. So my first question is, how do you imagine your life being in 5 years, 10 years? This is a really difficult question for me because my life kind of has just been like a revolving like 3 to 6 month plan for the last couple of years. And before that, I had a really set plan about what I thought I wanted to do, but there was never any like detail or extreme thought put into it. Like, what I didn't really ever figure out was what I wanted to do or anything, and I'm kind of still in that position. But then, like, and we'll get into some of this with my next question too, because they kind of tie together a little bit. But with my health problems and with just literally everything that's happened in like the last 4 or 5 years, a lot has changed. And so I'm just generally very confused. I don't really know what I want to do with my life. I would like to get to the point to where I'm healthy enough to be able to go to school. I'd like to figure out what I want to go to school for. I'd like to always be pursuing something artistic. Probably multiple artistic things actually, because I can never imagine myself just doing one thing. Like, I think I probably would have to be doing like 5 or 6 different things, or I could never possibly even be close to happy. So probably something like that, but I really don't know. So I guess my answer to this is probably like, in 5 years, I'd like to be at least mostly recovered. I feel like that's realistic, you know, to not expect to be like perfectly healthy again, but at least like mostly recovered from certain things. I'd like to have figured out what I want to do with my life. Maybe be living somewhere else. I'm not entirely sure about that part yet. I know that I want to travel some when I can. But yeah, I don't know. And then 10 years, oh Lord. I'd probably like to not be alone in 10 years. But I suppose if I am, that's okay. And I'd probably like to know, like, more solidly, like, where I want to be and, like, fully, like, who I am and what I'm contributing to the world. This might be, like, a weird, like, way of answering this question. Like, I don't know exactly what you had in mind, but, like, my interpretation is kind of just, I'd like to be, like, emotionally healthy, ideally physically healthy, at least as much as possible, and I think that by the time it's 10 years from now, I would just like to have myself figured out. Like, above all else, I think I would just like to have myself figured out and know, like, what makes me completely happy. But, dear Lord, I have spent over 5 minutes already answering this one question. I am moving on now. How do you deal with being isolated from your peers, and how would life be if you didn't have health problems? So, kind of touched on this maybe a little bit. I'm gonna answer them in reverse order. How would life be if you didn't have health problems? I have no idea, honestly. A few of my things, like the chemical sensitivity and like the skin reactions and some of that stuff, has honestly been a problem since I was born, apparently. So some things were already happening, but then as far as like the stuff that really keeps me, you know, tired and sick and isolated, it's I don't know, because it's literally been going on for like 5 years now, and I don't know, because I didn't really, like I said with my last question, I didn't really have my life like figured out by that point. I always figured that I would figure stuff out when I was 16, 18, 20, and then this other stuff kind of came in during like those years. Like obviously I'm not 20 yet, but right in the middle of that time when I thought I was going to be figuring things out, and kind of just like messed everything up and became the priority. So honestly, I don't know what I would have been doing, because I actually don't know if I live super differently now. I mean, I feel like a lot of the things that drive me and inspire me and the things that I want to be able to do or want to be doing right now are partially fueled by the fact that I have health problems. So without that, I honestly don't know what would have happened. Like, I really don't. I don't know if I would be in the same spot that I am now, or if I would have a totally different perspective. I don't know if I just would have ended up going to school for something. I don't know if I'd be happy with what I was doing. I know there was a point where I thought I was going to go to college for psychology, and I would not be happy with doing that. That was honestly like the only thing that I ever kind of had figured out. Other than that, like I really never knew what the fuck was going on. So how do I deal with being isolated? I don't. I really, it fucking sucks. I'm gonna be honest. It sucks ass. Like, I used to think of myself as this very introverted person who didn't need a lot of people. Like, I do have some very, very close friends now, which I'm very, very grateful for, but it's a little bit different than how I always imagined it. Like, we don't see each other all the time. Some of them I've never even met. So, but it's hard to be isolated, because, you know, that's like part of why I wish I was able to be at school or, you know, doing more things, because I really miss that a lot. Like, when I was, taking that college class, last semester, I had more chances to, like, be around people or to, like, actually hang out with people. Just being in a place where there's, you know, like a couple thousand other people your age, and especially like there where there's so many, you know, art students and stuff like that, like there's so many people that are more like-minded. It's really nice. Like, it's really, really cool to be there. And that probably sounds like really weird or corny for anyone who went to like a regular high school or like is going to like a regular college or anything, because it's just normal. But for me, that's a lot different, because I did cyber school from 5th through 11th grade. I graduated early. You know, I took a couple years off, and then that was like my first taste of anything even remotely close to that. And so it was really cool, and I really miss it, and I hope that it's not too long before I'm healthier, at least healthy enough to be able to do something like that. But for right now, I'm not. So how do I deal with it? I don't. I just get fucking sad about the fact that I'm sick. When did you get into writing poetry? I think I got like really, really into it, like officially, finally knew I really wanted to be writing poetry sometime between like late spring 2017 and like January 2018. Somewhere in there. What's the nightmare that messed you up as a kid? So I know the person who asked this, and I know that they didn't mean it this way, but I really love that this implies that I'm messed up as a person. Like, thanks. I am though, it's okay. I don't know that I actually had a nightmare that like really screwed with my head until I was like 14. So I don't know if that counts as like a kid. But basically it was just this dream, a really long dream, where I went through this whole process of like getting more mentally stable and healthy, and like getting rid of a lot of my insecurities and processing all of that. And then at the end of the dream, when I'm like better and I was about to like leave, this girl came in, and she was like the perfect, better, prettier version of me, at least by what my mind thought at that time. And she beat the shit out of me and then, like, dragged me back the hallway, like, back where I came from. I think by my feet, maybe by my hair, not sure which. And I was screaming. And, like, as that happened, I, like, came out of my body and was, like, watching it happen like a horror movie. And then I woke up in a cold sweat with my heart pounding and crying. So that fucked me up pretty badly. But I've also had, like, a series of different, I think I've had, like, 3 different variations of nightmares that have to do with me going to hell and or, like, a devil, which is weird because I'm really not religious. I'm, like, more spiritual than religious. So that doesn't make any sense, honestly. But it is freaky as shit. And I also used to sleepwalk as a kid, which was fun. I think I, like, remember the way it felt, and it was very strange. It was, like, everything was kind of, like, blurry, and, like, I knew what was happening, but I also, like, didn't. Like, I was with it and also not with it. It was weird. But yeah, I sleptwalk as a kid. Very fun. I also had really bad insomnia as a kid. Awesome. Ever smoke cannabis? I don't know, have I? Yes, twice. Be my friend! Bitch, we are friends. Just, like, hit me up whenever. We never talk, but we should, because, yeah, I think we were supposed to do a photo shoot, and I never followed through, so we should do that. Yes. What inspires you in this world? So this one is kind of complicated. I'm inspired by a lot of shit. Art, which we will get into in the next question, books, music, movies, people, feelings. I would say, like, anything that makes me feel something generally is what I'm inspired by. Some big heavy hitters, if I'm going to name a few. Some books that I really, really, really love that at least, like, got my creative juices flowing were Art on My Mind by Bell Hooks and The Anatomy of Being by Shinji Moon, which is an amazing poetry book. But Art on My Mind is just, like, this really cool, kind of personal, but also, like, kind of educational, like, art critique and interviews, and it's just really, really fucking cool, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who has any interest in art or art psychology or basically anything. Honestly, it's just a really good book. So next question, biggest art inspiration. So again, this is just, like, basically all kinds of things. I would say that, like, my main ones are probably photographers, painters, and tattoo artists. Tattoos are really interesting for me because they're kind of like a different way of drawing or illustrating, and so I really dig that. I'm also obviously very big into tattoos. Anyone who knows me knows that that's, like, all I talk about anymore, which is probably really annoying, and I should probably talk about something else. But some of my favorite tattoo artists are, and I will put, like, pictures, like, here and probably here, of their work, at least, like, my favorite piece of theirs, so that you guys can see what I like if you care. I'm not gonna remember all of them, so I'll have to, like, put a fefew in after while I talk about some other stuff. But some ones that I can remember off the top of my head are Adam Gibson, Rat 666 Tat, Not Cool Never Was, Lara Maju, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's definitely a couple others that I really love, but I will just put them in here right now. My favorite, like, tattoo styles that I generally can find, like, really cool, like, inspiration from, especially since I kind of want to get into, like, either tattoo-like illustration or actually doing, like, a little bit of tattooing here and there. I really love Japanese style. It's amazing. It's so fucking cool. I don't know that I could ever commit to it on myself because it generally takes up so much space, but it's incredible. I really like traditional, like, just classic American traditional, but I like when it has, like, some kind of a twist to it, like maybe it's more fine line or a little bit of, like, a different twist to it or something like that. And then generally speaking, I just really like weird offbeat style of tattoos, like things that are really unique that I like haven't seen anywhere else, or just really simple stuff. Like my style of tattoo is like really simple. Like I literally have like 3 words right here. Like that's like my shit, you know, like I dig that. So just that kind of stuff. But yeah. Other art inspirations, painters. I really like Rene Magritte. His work is really interesting. Sometimes I like it more than others though, which is weird, but my absolute favorite painter and probably my favorite artist period of all time is Jack Coulter. He's this abstract kind of painter. He has synesthesia, which is where when you hear sound, you also see colors and patterns and things, and he paints it, and he does a lot of pieces based on songs, and they're just so cool, and they convey so much emotion. And I think like after reading the stories about how when like for him life is not like, it's not cool for him, you know, like to anybody else who hears about that you think like, oh, that's so fucking cool, but when he describes it, you know, it's distracting, it's, you know, it gives him these terrible headaches, and it's really stressful for him, and it's caused him like mental health struggles and stuff. So I think knowing that kind of also adds into the feeling of the pieces. Something else I really love that I didn't mention, photography. Bruce Davidson was this guy, and he did this series called Brooklyn Gang in 1959, and it is one of the coolest things ever. I absolutely fucking love it. It is this photography series where he took pictures of all of these like greasers basically, and it's just like teenagers and like people in their early 20s, and it's just so cool because so many of them are kind of like candids, and they're just really like honest and really cool. I don't know, like those are like the original like cool kids, you know, and I just really love it. I think his images are copyrighted probably, so I won't put them here, but I will link the website below where you can view them, and I would strongly recommend that you do because they're really cool. Next question. How would you describe your style? This is complicated. I don't know exactly. Ideally my style is like vintage inspired, lots of thrifted pieces, comfy, but like looks cool but didn't really try that hard kind of thing. 90s inspired probably, but I also really like stuff sometimes from like the 60s and 70s, like that's more like hippie and feminine, like boho, like really like flowy, like floral dresses and stuff like that is also sometimes very me. I'd say like my main style is probably just, it has to be comfortable, and I want to look kind of like edgy and cool in like a 90s laid back kind of way, something like that. Favorite picture I've taken, I will put it right here. I think I know which one it is. I'll have to look to make sure, but I think it's this one I took in Pittsburgh just a couple of months ago. It was in between these 2 buildings. My dad and I were walking while we were waiting for a doctor, because he had an appointment and we were waiting, and so we were just walking around the city, and it was so dark, and I just like looked in there and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, and I took a picture, and it has so much contrast. Like I love when images have a lot of contrast, and I love black and white photography, so that's probably my favorite image, but we'll see. It'll be right here. Why do I have IBS? I wish I knew why you have IBS, and I'm very sorry that you have IBS. I feel for you. I have digestive problems of my own, but I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you why you have IBS. I'm very sorry. What's your dream pet? Honestly, I'm probably supposed to say something really interesting and exotic here, but probably just a dog. Like, dogs are cool. Or maybe like a rabbit, because rabbits are really cute. One of those 2 things. Will you suck my dick for National Dick Sucking Day? Is that even an actual day? Is it? Probably. First off, that would be illegal because you are 15. And second of all, ma'am, I don't think you have a dick to begin with. Next question. Best day of the year. This is a hard one. I don't know. I don't have like a favorite holiday necessarily, so I can't just say that. I would probably say one of two things. It's either like 1 or 2 days before Christmas, where it's like still really like exciting and there's like all those feelings and there's like snow outside and the decorations are all up, but you're not there yet. Like, you're not on the day and you're also not after it, because after it and even like on the day, it's really not as exciting as like right leading up to it. Or like some of those first days that are actually feel like summer, like it smells like summer, and like you open the doors and like the windows at night and you just let all of the like night air come in and it smells so good and you can hear like tree frogs. Those are also really good days, but I can't like say an exact date. Just like that whole thing is a really good day. Favorite kind of donut? I haven't had donuts in like 3 years. Since I went gluten-free, I have not had a donut. So, someone please buy me gluten-free donuts. Please. I'll pay you. But my favorite kind of donut used to be, they had them at the Walmart bakery. Classy, I know. And they were like a cinnamon roll made out of donut dough and then covered with like regular donut glaze. And they were the best shit ever. They were so good, and I miss them at least once a week. So, you know. Favorite scent. Now this is another one that's kind of tricky because I have like 5. I really like the smell of like homemade bread. I really like the smell of dried parsley. Fresh cut grass is amazing. But I would have to probably just stick with the baked bread or the parsley, honestly. Because, like, and I don't know what it is about, like, dried parsley, but it just, it's good. It smells really good to me. And, yeah, so that's a thing. And our last question. Is ranch hot? I can't tell you because I've never had ranch. However, from my minimal knowledge, very minimal knowledge of what ranch could possibly taste like, what it looks like, and what I think its ingredients may be, I'm gonna have to go with, I don't think so. Is that an acceptable answer? I hope so. And so with that, I'm going to conclude this very lengthy video that I thought I was not going to spend this long on. That's typical. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If there were any questions that I did not answer, comment them down below, and maybe I will do this again in like a 1.5 years when I have enough more questions to do it and enough time. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing day or night. And I will see you next time.